We're approaching 61 Cygni, planet 27 for the 37th Trideca observation. All scanners on.
Well, Captain, I see 30 years hasn't changed the atmosphere any. It's just as deadly now as on our last visit.
It'll take a lot longer than 30 years to clear that up. I'll take us in closer. Tape the pass-by.
Instruments indicate heavy gases have built up at surface level.
Atmosphere verified at 6 km.
You know, I find it difficult to believe an entire civilization could just die like this.
Well, Karan, it didn't happen suddenly. In fact, the changes were so gradual, they never understood what was happening to their world until the process was irreversible.
Surely they must have been forewarned.
They were. But by the time they grasped the situation, they couldn't bring about the unity of purpose necessary to save the planet. This is a classic case of a civilization overwhelmed by its own technology. This is Astron 7 calling Galaxia Kentron. We have taped the coordinates for the observation pass, planet 27, 61 Cygni. If no counter instructions, we will proceed immediately to Galaxy 208, Solar System 127, planet 3, for our 360th Trideca report.
Programmed arrival, 36 light hours.
Speed course 208-1273.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Star speed 4. Log the entry course, please.
Yes, sir. As you know, Captain, this is my first visit to this planet.
I think you'll find it a fascinating world, Karan. I've been studying it now for 10 centuries.
Third planet from a star. Is it people?
Oh, yes, it is. They call themselves man, and their planet, Earth. This is Astron 7 calling Galaxia Kentron. We're making our first pass over Planet 3, System 127, Galaxy 208. All scanners on and recording.
How advanced are these Earthlings?
Well, they're just about at the midpoint of their potential. Although the thrust of this development has taken place only in the past few hundred years.
Anything approaching our level?
Though different from us in many respects, they're on an evolutionary course not dissimilar to that which our own ancestors experienced 250,000 years ago.
In transition, then?
A necessary phase which all sentient creatures must experience if they're to evolve toward a higher level of awareness.
Captain, we have a visitor.
That's just one of their space probes, Karan. Please log its position and polar bearing.
Do these Earthlings all speak the same language?
No, they speak diverse languages and have evolved into geographic divisions they call nations. Though certainly what they have in common as men far outweighs any fine distinctions of language. While I'm adjusting the scanner, why not take a look at this tape? It concerns one nation down there that has been of special interest to me these past few hundred years. Almost a hobby, you might say.
What distinguishes it from similar nations on this planet?
Well, in a relatively short span of time, this particular country has evolved quite a complex and advanced economic system. One that may offer the best hope for balancing the tensions that always exist between the individual and the group. The social conflict between what is rightfully private property and what is public. In short, man versus the state.
300 years ago on the planet Earth, within the continent of North America, the foundation was laid for a new social experiment. Life for the American pioneer was, for the most part, independent and self-sufficient. The early settlers had to supply their own food by hunting, fishing, and farming.
What a big fish, Olaf. That is a very big fish.
Don't forgive me, it was my big fish.
What a big pumpkin, Ephraim. That is a very big pumpkin. Thee gives me credit for the blessings of God.
The pioneers built their own simple cabins, as well as making many of their own tools and furnishings. Most clothing was made of skin or homespun. Survival depended on every member of the family doing useful work. Almost every necessity was produced in the home, even medicine.
What a big mouth, Hans. That is a very big mouth. Now open it.
This climate of isolation and self-reliance bred a people with fresh spirit. Different political, religious, and economic ideas barely tolerated in the old world were allowed expression in the new and attracted increasing numbers of adventurous people. A new social concept developed that placed great value on the individual. Not only the exceptional man, but every man had the right, if he had the ability, to somewhat determine his own destiny. He had the right to accept work of his choice.
God helps those who help themselves.
My lad, you've the makings of a great printer.
Learn of the skillful. He that teaches himself has a fool for a master.
After thoroughly learning his trade, he may wish to exercise his right to enter business for himself. Though to do this, he had to have money.
A penny saved is a penny earned.
Or it might be necessary to borrow the money from a bank. Or seek investors who wish to speculate with their savings.
It is better to have a hen tomorrow than an egg today.
However the money was acquired, he could then exercise his right to own property and purchase tools and raw materials, engage labor, and finally place a fledgling product on the market where it could compete for the consumer's coin. Though there is risk in all venture, a superior product filling a need and sold competitively will usually sell and earn a profit.
Nothing but money is sweeter than honey.
Part of the revenue went towards the continuing costs of doing business.
Creditors have better memories than debtors.
And some of the return went for salaries and wages.
Keep thy shop, and thy shop will keep thee.
While still more was needed for advertising. The remainder was profit. Before taxes.
The king's cheese is made of the people's milk.
Then, of course, the investors had to receive their share, as did plant improvement and expansion, and finally, research and development.
The used key is always bright.
The Founding Fathers enjoyed many basic freedoms and wrote these freedoms into the Declaration of Independence. These freedoms were further guaranteed and protected by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And the new nation was given the name the United States of America. The foundation of the new society was based on the idea that each man was endowed with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Attracted by economic opportunity and political freedom unknown in the old world, great masses of people immigrated to the young nation. And they, in turn, as labor, consumers, and shopkeepers, contributed to the further acceleration of economic growth. This economic, political, and intellectual revolution, combined with an abundance of natural resources, gave the nation an opportunity for rapid growth and released energy that gave tremendous impetus to what was to be later called the Industrial Revolution. In the United States, as the system grew in complexity and influence, the federal and state governments began to take a larger role in the country's economic life, partly in reaction to what was then called laissez-faire capitalism.
Didn't this intrusion cause a conflict between the creative freedom of business and the government?
Of course, Caron. But in a free society, resentment of governmental interference or restraint is an expected and quite natural response.
There is a tolerance, then, of various forms and expressions of self-interest.
Even more, individual enterprise is encouraged, so long as it doesn't endanger the common good. And the common good is protected, but not to the point of stifling the individual. A totally controlled economy has within it the implication of a totally controlled populace.
The private and public sectors of society, then, are loosely controlled by a system of checks and balances.
Right. And despite this conflict of interest, or perhaps because of it, historically, the United States has always held a unique appeal.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Freed of Europe's social rigidity and given the advantage of free public schools, America's opportunity produced an intense burst of creativity.
With liberty and justice for all.
For those with new ideas and inventions, the system offered the incentive of generous reward. Some relatively simple device could develop into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, reaching far beyond the dreams of its inventor. For example, the discovery of the Audion tube gave birth to the age of electronics. In 100 years, industrialism made it possible for many nations to produce more and more products for a growing population of international consumers. And the profits thus accrued contributed to an ever-expanding pool of wealth and machines.
Those are impressive accomplishments for such a short period of development.
Yes, they are, Caron. And one of the main reasons for their success, however modest by our standards, is the firm establishment of a free market economy. An economy based on the promise of reward or profit for those who produce the things people want or need.
How does the system today compare with the earlier economy?
Oh, naturally, the economy now is much more complex, though the basic relationship between businessman and consumer is essentially the same. Here, let me show you.
Hi there. Problem? Have I got a machine for you? Add, subtract, multiply, divide, nothing to it.
In general, it is consumer need that provides business with a potential market for new products of innovative or superior design.
I'll take it.
Don't be hasty. Don't be hasty. The answer to your dreams, little baby, is lighter, faster, cheaper.
Workmanship. Guarantee. Yes, this little baby is guaranteed.
Demonstration will convince you that our calculator is a wire.
Business competition assures the consumer he will get the best product at a price he can afford or is willing to pay. For the consumer, the price of an article is the measure of its value. For the producer, if he is to run a profitable business, Consumer reaction to price is the signal that he must respond quickly to the public's changing demands for products of quality at acceptable prices. This is true not only for small local business, but for the large corporation as well. Out of this competition for consumer dollars has developed a most successful method for making economic choices. And undoubtedly, the free enterprise system in the United States has produced one of the highest standards of living in the world. Within the enterprise system, the free market provides not only the means for exchanging goods, but it also provides a market for the exchange of ideas. In a democracy, an individual's right to vote for or against a particular person or political party maintains the balance between the rights of the individual and those of the state, since ultimately, the vote will be translated into public policy. In a free economy, an individual's right to buy or not to buy a particular product maintains the balance between the rights of the consumer and those of the business community, since ultimately, the consumer's choice will be translated into investment policy.
So you see, Karan, economic freedom and political freedom are mutually dependent. I doubt if one could survive without the other.
All very well, Captain, but surely there must be many unresolved issues.
Of course there are, Karan. For example, Earth technology, in attempting to cope with the increasing demands of an exploding population, has certainly contributed its share toward unbalancing the ecosystem. The warning signs are everywhere.
However much the material level of life has been improved for millions of people, there are still enormous problems to be solved. In the past, it was believed that many social and economic ills could be dealt with by simply increasing output. But increased output, it was soon learned, also produces waste, sometimes at a rate that exceeds gain. Who could have anticipated the environmental consequences of an industrialism that promised so much? Though the tools for measurement are increasingly refined, those for prediction are still primitive. All of these problems must be approached and solved on many levels, with cooperative interaction between government, business, and labor. But even more effective is individual concern. This is the responsibility of every citizen. Business accepts the challenge, responding not only to profit, but designing new corporate objectives that are sensitive to social responsibilities with respect to providing food, transportation, urban planning, investment in new sources of energy, education, and medicine for the world's billions of people.
Well, Karan, you think they'll make it?
Oh, I hope so. They seem decent enough beings.
Let's hope they make that unified effort.
Perhaps as their understanding of universal laws increases, the problems created by their technology can be solved with new technology.
The free enterprise system is remarkably adaptive and capable of orderly change. But the freedom it requires for growth is a fragile entity. In a democracy, any force, political or economic, that changes too suddenly precludes adaptability. And in the resulting imbalance, freedom could disappear.
Well, I guess we'll be back in their year 2000 to review the outcome. You know, Captain, I wish we could help them.
I think not. It's been my experience our intrusion creates as many problems as it solves. Well, let's terminate the mission, shall we?
Calling Galaxia Kentron from 127 Galaxy 208. We have completed our scan of Planet 3.
Karan, plot the return course.
Aye, aye, Captain.
We're returning to mid-station Andromeda. Star speed 4. This is Astron 7 calling Galaxia Kentron. This is Astron 7 calling Galaxia Kentron. This is Astron 7 calling Galaxia Kentron.
The destiny of mankind is not decided by material computation. When great causes are on the move in the world, we learn that we are spirits, not animals, and that something is going on in space and time, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty.